Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, just real quick, 'cause I'm moving around a little bit. I'm probably going to be muted on and off. I'll still be able to hear. It's just there's going to be some background noise, and I don't want you to have to suffer through all that nonsense.
All right, that's perfect. That's fine.
All right, so how'd you want to open up this chat?
Well, I mean, we've been going back and forth for, well, not really you and I, but mostly us and Harley. But, I mean, you were a part of the video of, in Heaton's video because you were reading the chats and whatnot. How much of
Yeah,
the Google Drive did she show you?
I've seen the majority of it. I was able to actually find Foxton's initial drive. That's why I have a few questions concerning some of this, because it looks like I got a few things wrong in my assumptions about some things, or I think in some cases I made an assumption based on a voice. So let's go ahead and get into that if you got any questions.
Sure. And let me just preface this. I understand the confusion on this. I think one of my greatest issues right now with Heaton is how quickly they went about this. It was quite obvious that I don't think they went through everything, and the amount of stuff that they removed from our drive in general, put in their drive. I don't know. It seems to me a bit. I don't want to be too uncharitable and say that she purposely redacted a lot of information that should not have been redacted and used points that were no longer points, but it appears that way to me that she did that purposely. But maybe that can be
Oh,
disproven today. But and
having gone through the drive myself, I can tell you right now it was a bit of a struggle because while some things are listed in terms of like XYZ thing, there's not much in the way of timeline set up. There's no overarching thing that tells you when these things went into play or the context behind some of them. So if you're going to wind up getting into anything like this this big again, you might want to take that into account if you're going to share it to other people.
well, that was the
Because
thing. That was my video. That was my videos that went over stuff like that. That's why I gave her my videos as well. And apparently, all she did was took a screenshot of the minor games one is a groomer one, and just ran with that instead of actually even either watching that one and or watching the other ones that I did as well that kind of went through what Harley got wrong and what we believe and how we came to the conclusions that we came to at the end of all this.
gotcha. So first of all, before we get into the real thick of this,
Sure.
I'm trying to come at this not so much from a sense of neutrality because I know where I stand on some of this stuff. I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty upfront. I'm transparent about what I say and what I do. If I get something wrong, I'll apologize for it. That's why when you brought to me the screen cap typo, I use the keypad when I type in numbers, and instead of hitting 7, I hit 5. So that's on me,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you were in that chat with Harley, specifically you. Apparently not Foxton. There were other people in that chat though that I have zero context for, and I was wondering if I could get some context for them.
Okay. Bone or Bone Daddy was a friend of mine. He's before some background stuff. How this all started is gonna sound really really dumb because it is fucking dumb. This all started because me and Braxton got into a bit of a Twitter fight. Harley joined in. Bone gave me saw that video and gave it to me, and I watched it briefly, and then I showed Harley, and then somehow a little while later I ended up in that chat.
Okay. How
So
did you
that
run into? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
yeah yeah. As for the other person that's in the chat, that is Josh's ex girlfriend, as a now ex girlfriend known as Pika, and
Okay.
that's all of us.
Well, there's a few other people that were thrown in there that I like. I have zero context for, so I'm trying to see if I can pull it up. Just give me a moment here.
Sure. It should just be Harley, myself, Bone, Pika, and Josh. That is the only people that were in that chat, as far as I know.
So there were a couple more. I just gotta find out where I put the doggone image. So give me a bit here.
Sure.
Joys of doing things on mobile.
No, no, it's fine.
And just in case you hear it, because I'm in the office just sorting through things, I got a lot of stuff I just need to parse through. If you hear scratching, it's Gidget. She wants in. She always wants in, and she is very adamant. So just be aware of that.
It's fine. And if you hear barking, that's my dog. So,
Oh, how old's your dog?
uh, God, maybe 3 years old, maybe
Oh, what type of
more.
dog is it?
It's a mix. He's like a terrier mixed with something. We never met his dad.
Gotcha. All right, just making small talk while I try to find this dumb thing.
Yeah,
My
it's all,
apologies.
no, it's all good. But I'm fairly sure it was just those main people because we didn't include a lot of people in this thing. It was mainly just Foxton even came way later. Mainly it began with just me and Bone, and then Josh and his ex girlfriend. That was it.
Okay, so one of the people apparently is Pika because their name is like Shocking Pika and it's spelt out really weird, so it threw me off.
Yeah,
Okay, so Pika is Josh's ex now, yes?
as of now, ex. Yes.
Okay, now that I got that, let's see here. Bowen then found me through my first video, and that's where I got involved. This is all after the GC Harley made. Okay, what GC did Harley make?
That was the GC that Harley that whole video that you guys showed on that second video. He started that. He started that
Uh,
GC. So that whole narrative that was painted that we sat him down with the groomer. Harley has been talking with Josh way before we even got involved. Way before.
Let me get all the way to the top of it because that I don't think is accurate. So let me make sure. Because one would think if Harley was involved or in charge of that group, that when the call happened and when all the freaking out happened, that Harley would just kick like you at
He,
other people.
he did. He kicked us out day two, like halfway through day two. He kicked us all out of there, and yeah, he started a chat. He has the crown. That's why in the very beginning of my video, I was like, he can't
Well,
kick us. He can't kick us, and they're like, yeah, he can. He has the crown.
they have the crown now, but depending on who comes and leaves from it, that depends on who gets the crown. So what I'm seeing here is deleted user added Bone Bro to the group.
Here,
So
I have the
it's hard
video of
to
it.
yeah.
The video of it has the crown perfectly visible in sight.
I see that like currently in the group, but you said the video you
Yeah.
have has the crown inside, and this is when everybody's in the group.
Yep. Everyone's in the group.
All right.
Okay.
This is when we first got into it, and yeah, he has the crown. Oop, skipped it. Give me right here.
Let's go ahead and just, for the sake of argumentation, assume you were correct on this 100%. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So, assuming you're correct on this, how old were you when you got into all of this?
How old was I?
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, I don't even know. How long ago was this? Was this?
This was
eight-
in August of 2021.
2021. I am 31 now. So
Okay. So, and how old was Foxton at the time?
Foxton wasn't in this chat, so she didn't even show up
I'm
until
talking
way
about like
later.
just in general when all this started for Foxton's aspect. I know at this point Foxton wasn't in the chat.
Yeah, Foxton. I think she's typing right now. She can probably tell you. She said she was
Okay.
18.
So, my question is, as adults,
Mm-hmm.
why was this approached specifically in this manner to where you are? And I don't even think you guys can like argue against this point, to be honest with you, where you're berating Harley, making demands of Harley when Harley is a minor. Because while I was wrong about 15, they definitely were 17, and that's still a minor.
For one thing, Harley's been at this for a while, and we came from a Twitter. We came straight from that Twitter fight straight into that GC. So everything was already heated in general as it is, and like I wasn't even in commentary at the time. I was just a shit poster. So if someone's gonna give me a certain energy, it doesn't really matter to me as long as they're not like severely like retarded, as in like babbling retarded, that it's too much of an advantage. Really, I mean, a 17
You
year
don't
old.
think it should matter? You
No,
think it shouldn't matter?
not really. If a 17-year-old is gonna throw fucking fist, and he's gonna throw fucking fist, and he's gonna have to take the heat if he wants to get into the kitchen.
Well, if that's the case, then do you take issue now with Vincent responding to Moomin?
I had never had issues with Moomin, with the issues with Vincent being an adult and talking to Moomin. That wasn't my contention with it. My contention with him is that he lied.
Because that's one of my contentions about that entire situation. My value is always going to be that if you are dealing with a literal child, you have to deal with them differently than you would an adult. So in this situation, if I was involved at the onset, I wouldn't have done any of this. Firstly, because you have to look at it from the standpoint of, as an adult, I believe we have specific responsibilities in terms of how we conduct ourselves and how we deal with children, especially children that are making claims of grooming. So you have to be very careful how you have to conduct yourself on those matters. That's my personal opinion. That's how I tend to conduct myself in all the stuff I'm involved in. There are times that children are going to get uppity and they're going to get rowdy. And so as long as they're not making threats, then it shouldn't be an issue. And I've had children make threats. They've threatened to shoot up stuff and all that. And I've had to contact law enforcement because, to be honest, we all live in the United States, I believe, and we all know how that tends to play out. And I'm not going to be the guy on the news like, yeah, I knew and I didn't say anything. Not going to happen. There are better ways to approach that, first and foremost. So, you guys, I get being heated, like, boom, coming in and right out of the gate, right? Somebody's talking smack and they're going to catch the hands. That I get, to a point. But this chat went on for 2 days.
Yep.
And it doesn't seem the conduct had changed at all. So,
yeah,
another
because
question I'm getting,
the energy was the same by then. And, man, to preface this a little bit more, what are your thoughts of allowing minors to start YouTube careers by talking to pedophiles and groomers for content?
Well, let me go ahead and ask you in return. This isn't a gotcha or anything like that. What do you think my value on that is?
I would imagine that you would think that that's shitty and probably shouldn't happen, right?
Unquestionably.
Unquestionably, yeah. So that is Harley TBS, and not to mention that he had fucked up just about every single grooming and pedophile accusation that he has made. One of which was to someone that I associate with, which is why another reason why me and him are a bit heated, because he does shit like that.
Who's the other individual?
Antunes.
Antunes, okay. I don't know if I can say that Antunes has done anything grooming related. I know Antunes has done things that are not kosher, that you should not do around children or to children. Antunes has not watched his mouth in a lot of cases. That is not okay.
I agree.
It's not something I would label him as a groomer with. I would say that could be considered a form of sexual harassment. And Antunes, he's in his late 20s, early 30s? I can't remember.
What was sexual harassment about what he did?
If you're sending pornography to children, which is what he did to Braxton.
Well, for one, he wasn't trying to send them in that context. He was sending him to kind of show that you shouldn't take any of these people seriously, because the person that he was sending Antunes that art was sending him stuff like that, which is but
the value is still that you don't. It doesn't matter what context you send to child porn, right? You just shouldn't do it.
Yeah, well, true. Yeah, true. So, and we all agree that Antunes shouldn't have done that, but that's the context.
Okay, that's all well and good, but you have to own it when you do it. You have to be honest about it. I haven't seen the majority of Harley's videos, first and foremost, because I don't tend to enjoy their content. Just gonna be completely honest. As far as Antunes goes, like, I think he's a goof. I think he's a clown. I don't think that he should be in certain spaces or be treated in certain ways. My main concern, especially like the stream I did with Coyote a couple years ago now, I primarily hammered on the fact that I know that Antunes is a skilled artist that I don't think he should be tracing at this point.
That's
everything else, like, just it's all subjective opinion on that case. But go ahead, didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's fine. I feel like I'm actually interrupting you a bit. Sorry about that, but
it's all right.
Yeah, but it's but that whole entire thing, the issue with like Harley in general, I get the child thing, whatnot. I get that, but the issue is we're not dealing with someone that's like the typical, lollipop wishing, child. We're talking about someone that made a career talking with groomers and pedophiles and fucking up allegations and rolling with trolls on Twitter. It's not. I feel like that point. It's valid, but at the same time, I think it's overused. A lot of the things that he has done, you can't really defend too much. For he was a child. It's a lot of repeat behavior because of it.
Well, the thing about children
they are very.
Oh, there he is. There she is.
They're very exploitative, even at the age of stories. Hi. Sorry if I'm cutting out, but that's the main thing.
Okay,
and
let's talk.
My Wi-Fi shit.
Right,
my Wi-Fi shit. So sorry if you can't hear me well.
It just took me a minute to pick up what you were actually saying. But, okay.
Yeah, sorry. But my point is that Harley, it's obvious that they're kind of, I wouldn't say malicious, but very immature in terms of, grooming allegations as well. Because not only have they said false ones too, they also, in terms of like forcing promos down your throat at the beginning of stories that involve like human trafficking. The Chinese VTuber one is very evident. My thing is that they get on y'all. all of you to us about being very brash with Harley, even though we've been trying to show people that it's very difficult to talk to Harley and to stay on topic. Yet Harley does way more worse shit in terms of that, and no one really seems to care. So that's my kind of thing.
Well, I can give you my value on a few things here, if you want to hear that concerning this.
Sure.
Here's my value. Now, I haven't watched the entire thing because, just not being cruel when I say this, there's a lot of repetition, and it's very boring. It doesn't move very quickly, but I watched some of Smart Alec's 3-hour video on Harley.
Yeah.
There are some valid criticisms there, but I think part of the focus is not where it should be. So in the case of Harley dealing with predators and whatnot while underage, of course they should never have done that, period. I don't care what the reason is, I don't care what the excuse is. That should not have been facilitated, especially not by the adults in Harley's circle, because according to Alex's video, it seems like some of this was facilitated by other adults. But at some point I'm going to have a conversation with, because that's not okay. That cannot be allowed. That cannot be considered to be all right. Period. There's been an ongoing issue in the commentary circles and whatnot where these predators are interviewed as though we need to get their side of every aspect, and you don't. You really don't, first and foremost. And secondly, when it comes to dealing with allegations, you should never, ever, 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 ever have a child in a chat with these people, especially unmonitored. Just in general, but especially unmonitored.
Great.
And that is an issue. I'm not going to deny that, and I'm certainly not going to take away from that. I think the problem is partly how it's been brought about, how it has been dealt with, and perhaps some of the tactics used. I heard in Alex's video that Nani was involved, and at some point I'm going to have to sit down and have a discussion with Nani about that, because of course I have to find out how to, because I don't actually know her, because that's not okay. Those are valid points to have. I think part of the issue is how you go about it, because you can't always kick down the door and yell at it. Sometimes you have to be different. Perhaps you guys have tried, but I think the way you guys have done it, to be completely blunt here, and I don't mean any disrespect when I say this, has been kind of shotgunny and reckless. And if you're genuinely trying to make a change or an effect on somebody like this, especially somebody young, and I know you guys don't like the quote-unquote excuse of it, but that is part of this. Harley's been in this commentary space. A lot of Harley's friends are commentary. Harley should have been guided better by the adults.
Could you elaborate further? How have you handled this recklessly and shotgunned it? Because we didn't do this quickly, mind you. That's why I'm getting context, right? Yeah. We didn't do this quickly. I took my time. If I can be, not to throw Foxton's credit out the window. Not to throw Foxton's credit out the window. She barely had anything to do with the grooming stuff in general. She handled the Mood bot stuff more than she did the grooming stuff. The grooming stuff was mainly me. With my stuff, I waited a while to even publish some of this information, especially towards the end, finding out about Josh's grooming those other minors. I especially took my time because I reported Josh, so I didn't want to do anything. It wasn't until I found out that they're not going to take my video recording of him confessing for whatever reason. They said they couldn't take it, but I spent my time just kind of reading over it. Not just double, triple, quadruple, just all the duple checkings to make sure what we were saying was true and what we were saying was accurate to what we knew and what evidence we had.
Then let me step back here for a second, okay?
Okay.
I want you to tell me what methods you tried first to try to reach out and correct Harley's behavior.
To correct his behavior?
To correct their behavior. Well, you're talking about how you saw these issues. How did you approach Harley first? How did you go about this beforehand, before this group chat showed up and everything started tumbling massively downhill?
Well, of course, like I said, I was a shit poster. I didn't even expect to even be a part of the chat to begin with. I didn't even know they were going to make a chat. They just made the chat and invited me, and I showed up last. So any initial approach was already kind of scorched earth. That was out of my hands. At the end of it, when we broke contact with Josh, because we found out that he was, we'll probably get into that later. That we found out that he deleted his portions of the chat a bit. we broke contact with him, and for that while, I was still reviewing the chats just to make sure because he was also having chats with Harley discreetly without discussing that with us. And in those chats, he admitted that he was dating a minor to Harley, and Harley did not disclose that at all to us or to anyone. He wanted Josh's identity to remain a secret. That bothered me, so I kept looking at the chats and double checking things to see if something was vibing wrong with me, which it was, which is why the inevitable interview I did with him happened. So towards Antu's making his second drama video where he mentioned it, I jumped back in because I mean it was almost like a sign that I needed to like finish what got started. So I jumped back into it, and I actually got DMs with Harley, and that was a little bit more civilized, but we still didn't come to an agreement. I even posted those DMs on YouTube for everyone to see. I actually released everything unredacted, just so everyone would know that I'm not hiding anything when I'm talking about this shit. Let me post those.
And just so you're aware, we don't have to cover like every single nook and cranny today. We don't have to.
Yeah, I understand. But
this issue is already almost 2 years out from like the call itself or the server itself, so we can go through that whenever we get the chance. So I'm not going to be able to look at all this like immediately in call.
No.
I just want to be upfront about that.
Yeah, I understand.
So by the time you were already involved, it was already heated, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, it was already heated straight from Twitter because we went from arguing with Braxton to Harley, and then suddenly I'm in a chat, and then everyone is yelling at each other.
Okay, so there was no really any de-escalation at this point, was there?
No, not till I believe a year later or a couple months later, where I had these DMs with Harley.
All right, so going forward, if you're in a situation like this again, especially with somebody young, a minor like Harley, because you probably remember being a teenager. Your hormones are like crazy. You immediately act on impulse, right? You don't have the three-dimensional thinking of how this is going to affect other things. So trying to de-escalate situations like this when you're dealing with younger people is always the best thing to go for. Because it seems like this was approached, and I'm not trying to be cruel when I say this, I'm trying to be blunt. That way there's no, what did he actually mean? That's why I tend to operate the way I do. It seems like this was dealt with in an aggressive manner, as though it was like Twitter beef, instead of like the genuine care it really should have been put there. And it's a learning experience. It's something that not everybody's going to know immediately off the beat, right? That's just the truth of the matter. Even when I first got started in doing like predator hunting, there were a lot of mistakes that were made in the early years. I'm not going to deny that. Everybody screws up. Doesn't matter who you are. I have, you have, everybody under the sun has, right? So it's just something to keep in mind if you ever wind up in a situation like this again, especially dealing with somebody younger. Now, when it comes to them talking to Josh Stone, it's been my experience dealing with victims who have been groomed, sexually assaulted, whatnot, because of the situation they're in. They crave that familiarity, or they're likely to go back to it for a little bit because it's scary to be away from something like that to them. It messes up their brain, for lack of a better word. That's probably not the correct word to use or phrase to use, but there's a lot of pseudo Stockholm syndrome there. And it has to be dealt with care and love, not aggression and anger.
That's valid in that regard, but that wasn't my contention with mentioning that. My contention with that would be that I was told, not just Peaches, but like everyone else, including Heaton, had painted this fact like we forced Harley to go into that chat with him, and that's just not true. That's why I mentioned that he was talking with Josh long before we were ever involved, because that's just the truth of the matter. And we didn't force him to talk with him. He was already talking with him way before we even got involved.
Okay. Perhaps the wrong phrasing used. I'll double back and I'll check with people because that's my due diligence on these situations. But perhaps the wrong phrasing, but
Probably was just phrasing.
Sorry, what?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I genuinely don't think it's just phrasing. Because it's right in front of people's faces that it's obvious I'm not in there, that I didn't do a lot of this shit. It's very fucking obvious. I don't think it's just phrasing. I think it's not, yeah.
Well, for my part on that, for saying that you were involved, I apologize because the voice I heard in the call you guys put out, where you guys like relative to you guys, not you specifically too. I know Grim, you were there.
Mm-hmm.
It sounded like Foxton was in that call as well.
I don't.
Did that call happen in this group, or did it happen in another one?
It didn't happen at all. There's no group chat. There's no even regular chat where me and Foxton are in there with Harley. Like I said, Harley spoke with Foxton one-on-one. Harley did speak to me one-on-one a couple times on Twitter, and most of our group interactions have always been openly on Twitter, and that's why it was weird that they made this video both videos blaming Foxton. It seems to me like it was purposeful. It was purposeful. The first video was to paint her as a transphobe to ruin the credibility, then go into the second one. That way no one checks into anything that's being said until the very point at the end where they said, no, Foxton wasn't involved. Grimm was the piece of shit that was involved that did all this. But we just wasted a 2-hour video and another hour of this video telling people that Foxton was involved. She wasn't.
Well,
Yep.
let's go ahead and head back to what I was asking here, because that's something that will have to be addressed, like, obviously with Heaton at some point. But when it comes to that call, where people are trying to get Harley in the call, and it's showing, of course, the group chat that you were in.
Mm-hmm.
If that wasn't Foxton in the call, who was it?
There was only Pika, Bone, myself,
Pika, okay.
and Pika didn't even talk either. I haven't heard. I've recently just heard Pika's voice because she never talked when Josh was in the call with her.
All right, can you pass me that call again real quick? I want to double check something.
It's right above the one I just. It's in the chat right now.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
But
yeah.
I don't because none of them sound like me. None of them sound like me. That's the thing. I don't know why people can confuse me with that. Because even though like I do sound like a dude sometimes, I'm a bit more high pitched than all of them. So I don't understand why people were so confused.
Let's do... Just give me a moment here. I'll re-listen to this at some point and double back on that. So
Sure.
put a pin in that for now, okay?
And
Because
this,
again, I'm being transparent here with you guys.
yeah, and to be transparent with you as well, or rather, just try to like hash this out a bit more too. What's the difference between Harley being 17 years old to 18-year-old Harley now? What's the difference between those two?
When it comes down to the difference between those two, we have some biological differences. There's, of course, the legal differences, as literally everybody here knows. The point is, before 18, like morally throughout the majority of the United States, as well as a lot of the other Western world, it still changes how you're going to deal with somebody and how you're going to approach somebody. Like, for example, if you got a friend that's 18, there are things you're probably going to say to him that you're not going to say to a friend that's 17, within reason. And the problem I have with this level, or not level, my apologies, this specific arena of argumentation, is you can literally roll it down every year, right? So what's the difference between a 16 and a 17-year-old, or 16 and a 15-year-old? There has to be a difference. And a lot of it's like biological makeup, and some of it is societal conditioning. So it varies. The difference is how an adult conducts themselves to somebody that's a minor. So how I would have gone about this is going to be completely different than how you guys did. You got to learn to not, especially something serious like this, you can't come in like immediately guns blazing unless you have 100% solid evidence for every tiny aspect. And nobody did at this point. I think that's genuinely fair to say. Nobody had complete full aspect on this, because at the time this group chat happened, you didn't know that Josh redacted logs, did you?
Nope. This is actually the first time we actually interacted with the logs in general. This is the first time I actually ever spoke with Harley at all outside of Twitter. And that first time was actually the first time Harley ever tweeted at me. So it's really, everything is a first in this whole entire thing, which is why I was very interested that he didn't decide to use that as an argument versus everything else that we discovered at the end of it. They didn't even go through it. And I'm fairly sure I gave it to her because I gave it to her before she blocked me.
Well, again, unfortunately, I can't answer for Heaton, right?
Yeah.
I can only answer for what I know and what I do. And
Yes.
I get that's frustrating. Trust me, I get it. So, when it comes to this situation, you have a grooming accusation being thrown, something that even within the logs, pretty obvious there was money exchanged for unpleasant things, even with the logs redacted. Because I did read every single one of them, because I literally had to, because I voiced Josh in that video, right? That should have raised your eyebrow. And I'm not here to step on your toes. I'm trying to be constructive into criticism here, and I'm not here to dog on you for it. I just want you to be aware. That should have been a red flag.
It was gross. It was gross, but you had to put it in context that this is teenagers talking. So it's going to be gross.
While it is teenagers talking and it might be gross, it's still unacceptable for two reasons. Number one, requesting CP is not a wise thing, especially at the 4-year age gap they had. Or actually, not even 4-year age gap they had. And secondly, literally exchanging a form of currency for it. And you guys even, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, even admitted that it's a form of child prostitution.
That was mostly Bones' way of explaining it. I really hated the way he explained it, which is why I kind of like just thumped him for that, because it's really a dumb way to kind of word it, and it's really like I said.
Is it inaccurate?
It is inaccurate, because prostitution is a little bit different.
It's exchanging currency for sex.
Yeah, it's exchanging currency for sex, yeah, but not exchanging currency for nudes. That would be, well, like you said, child pornography.
That'd be pornographic instead, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be pornographic, so it would be inaccurate to say it's prostitution. I would say right now, especially when she mentioned that, in UK law, right, that you will want Josh to be prosecuted by US law, because UK law has statutes that take age into account. US laws does not take into account the age. If you're older than the person that you're doing it and it's underage, you're gonna get fucked. You're gonna get fucked by the legal system. There's 100% accountability.
That's actually not accurate. While it may not have caveats specifically in the written law, they do take that into account, because again, our legal system may be quote unquote blind, but they're not complete monsters 90%, 80% of the time. They take into account exhibiting factors. They take into account how somebody's being treated, the circumstances they're in. That's why we have court cases. That's why we have lawyers. That's why we have investigators. So it's not just you both shared nudes, even though this one person paid for it, therefore you're both guilty.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you would want Josh to be like subject to to U.S. law, because only U.S. law would he be fucked to the max about that, because they have accommodations for, say, relationships, like two minors that are in relationships. They have zero accommodations for pictures. You can go back to like say revenge porn cases, say like a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old. The 17-year-old released nudes of the 15-year-old because they broke up, that type of deal. That goes, and that 16-year-old is fucked regardless. In U.S. law, he's fucked. Doesn't matter his age, doesn't matter nothing. He is fucked. But when it came to the chats themselves, like I said, I viewed it as when I first approached it, I approached it because I thought they were in a relationship. That was the thing about that. I thought they were in a relationship, and this was the workings of spurned lovers. But looking through the chats themselves, yeah, it's gross. Yeah, it shouldn't have happened. I even wrote down that, yeah, minors should not be exchanging nudes at all. What I'm saying is, I don't believe that's grooming, because it's their age gaps. Number one, is very plausible, and I do believe that he thought that he was dealing with a 14-year-old at the time, because Harley told him he was 14. Did you see those? Did you see those?
Harley also previously told him they were 12.
Do you have that chat? Because I see one where he's saying that he thought I see one that he said he thought that he was, and then later after that, you can see that it says that he's telling him he's 14. That's after the fact. And if you ever heard Josh talk, you would realize there's an issue with that. He's genuinely retarded. He's
regardless of if he is or not, that doesn't change the fact that. Here, let me go ahead and ask real quick here.
Yeah.
So, did any of the sharing happen while he was under the quote-unquote impression that Harley was 12?
No. All of it's
no.
Yeah. All of it started. All of it started after Harley gave him a chat that he was 14. That's why you see that screenshot of Harley talking about like his dick size and whatnot. He's trying to get into Josh's good graces.
Harley whenever news placed in the PC. Sorry, I'm reading what Foxton's written.
Yeah. And I also put my tweet where I put some screenshots, the ending, because you guys didn't put the endings of the chat in there because Josh hid the endings from a chat from us until we got it from him at the end during the interview. That's how I got it. That's why my screenshots are the way they are right now in the thing, because that was me, getting them from the interview, taking a screen cap of it and posting it.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and put a pin in that one.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we can come back and address this later when I have everything at hand, right?
Sure.
We never know what we're going to get into until we get into it, right? So whether or not it was 12 or 14, there is an issue here with being exploitative. There is an issue here of sending Steam cards for payment for nudes, which still should not have happened.
But
the argument about grooming can be made, but it takes a little bit of digging into.
I mean, if you look at the end of the chats, it kind of throws it away. that's why I said
talking about when Harley was like, not to interrupt you, I'm just letting you know that you may not need to tell me. Is it when Harley was clowning on Josh for all of it?
Yeah, he was clowning on Josh for all of it and told him exactly just that I don't send nudes. I'm not a porn star. I juiced you like a towel. Just accept the fact that you lost your money. What are you going to do? Call the cops and tell them that you paid nudes for a 14-year-old? This kind of tells me what the end result of what the very purpose of this whole entire thing was, which is why I don't believe that this was grooming. This was Harley tricking a fucking 16-year-old retarded pervert out of money and then laughing at him and then leaving. That's why it's hard for me to call this grooming.
And I know that can be frustrating from your point of view. I get that. And I did read your thing here, Fox, and let me go ahead and address it. One could argue there was some form of exploitation in terms of the money. However, the fact that Josh wanted nudes for it is the main problem I'm having here. Because Josh wasn't forced into that. Josh requested it. Josh asked for it. And for video and all this other nonsense. That is a problem. If we were having this... I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm just finishing my thought. Please.
Yep.
If this was just like something not related to anything sexual, you guys would probably be 100% in the right. You'd be able to clown on Harley for making a very foolish decision and exploiting somebody for money as a minor, both of them being so. But the problem is the pornography, the moving towards that, the consistent asking of it. You give me happy, I give you Steam card. That's a problem. Yeah,
we agree that that's, like I said, gross. But again, we're talking about a 6-year-old that thinks that he's talking to a 14-year-old. Should he be paying someone for nudes at that age? No. Should someone at age 14 or 12, regardless of that, be giving nudes?
No,
not at all.
For anything.
Yeah, that's just it. We're dealing with teenagers though, and I mean you're kind of asking us to say that a mentally retarded 6-year-old losing his money to what he thought to a 14-year-old was a 14-year-old, was grooming, which. I like I said, that's a hard ask to say because grooming is very specific in its definition.
We could also go on to the fact that later on, Josh repeated this behavior.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, he's repeated the behavior, but doesn't mean that he did that. Like he accomplished that with Harley. That's the thing. I would rather accuse someone of something that they actually did versus something that they didn't do. If you accuse someone of something that they didn't do along with something that they did do, it kind of muddies the water and casts doubt on the things that he actually did do.
Okay. Well, keep in mind this conversation is still on the table. We're going to move a little bit away from it because I have other questions I need to ask here, and I need to do some more digging on this specific topic, obviously. I'm going to try again to parse through the Google Doc and hopefully use your video as a guide on that.
Sure.
Again, it's a bit of a mess, and I know you're throwing things in there. You're like, I got to document it, but when we document things, we more often than not document it for us, assuming everybody's going to look at it the same way we do or have pre-knowledge of what we look at, but they don't, right? You have to formulate it for other people. Right. And that sucks, but that's part of the issue we're having here in terms of parsing through things. So we can take a look at that whenever we get another chance to have another sit down like this, because I know everybody here is busy. So let me go ahead and go into a few other things if everybody is okay with that. If not, we can finish what we're doing here and then go on.
Oh, sure. Go on.
I'm just waiting for Foxton to confirm too, because I don't want to leave her out.
Sure. But one question before.
I'm fine with moving on. But yeah, I have questions too, but you go ahead.
But I got.
No, sorry.
I got one quick question, because this is a funny point. How does a 12-year-old pay rent with Steam cards?
Oh no.
That was an interesting point in her video.
Telling Josh. That's the main thing that Harley kept telling Josh. I need this. I need the rent. I need to help my family. Give me the Steam cards, but not ask for a vanilla Visa. Really? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know if a minor can buy a vanilla Visa. I've never looked into any of that. I think I bought like Steam points for somebody once.
They can buy a vanilla Visa. That's fine. And he got those Steam cards. Josh got those Steam cards from his mom. That's mainly where he does it. He gets SSI from like the government because, like I said, he's retarded. But the
thing is, one could make the obvious argument, right? That who says that? But I've been around people, especially people who are like poor, like eating assistance poor, where they'll sell their food stamps in exchange for cash to random people, right? So there's a possibility, or was in this case. Obviously, at the end they mentioned being suckered, right? But at the end, when you're looking at this like boldface, you could wonder maybe Harley got the Steam cards and then sold the Steam cards and whatever. But yeah, the it was for rent wouldn't make much sense unless there was some extremely extenuating circumstances there.
Well, that's just it. That's the exploitation that they were talking about. He had financial need, and his financial need was he needed to pay rent with Steam cards. It sounds far-fetched at the very wording of it, which is why I found it interesting that they were not really diving really, really close to that area too much. Just a brief mention, and that's it. But really, I just found that interesting. But that's all. We can continue. Well, unless Foxton has a question right now.
I'll have questions for later on. I want to make sure that every point that Leo has is covered first.
Sure.
Okay. So, in terms of how everything else has spiraled out here, we see that this entire conversation happened, that it was frankly handled very poorly. There are better ways to go about doing any of this. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Sure.
But moving on to other topics here. So, we had you tell me, or not, here earlier, tell me that Josh wound up preying on other people that you know. Is that accurate?
I don't know them specifically. I believe I met one, but they don't want to be involved anymore. Because I was trying to get them to report Josh, but that didn't work out.
How did you report Josh?
Through the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children. I called their hotline.
All right. Did you have Josh's real-world information?
I have his first name, and I believe I got his last name from Pika. Harley was also in the group chat that we had with Jar and him, and I was also trying to help me get information as well, but he didn't quite follow through with that.
Okay. Have you ever had to report a predator before?
Me? I've had to report people. I had to report people before for certain things, yeah.
I'm talking about predators specifically.
Yeah, I used to have to be a mandated reporter. If something seems funny, I have to report it.
Okay, did you use the missing and exploited children then?
No, we had to go through our local system. We had to write a report, send it to our higher ups, and call and make an official report to the police.
Why didn't you do that in this case?
Because I don't live in Kansas.
Well, even if you don't live in Kansas, the standard is to report it to your local PD, and if they find something substantial, they'll send it to the Kansas PD.
I mean, I could report it to the local one, but then again, like I said, all I have is that recording. That's all. I don't have the victims. Don't the
Sorry.
victims are not going to do the reporting themselves, and that's kind of required of them. They see an internet guy try to do that, they're not going to pay much attention to it.
It certainly does, give more towards it. It's still not a good idea to not report it, though. That
I mean,
like to your local PD.
Like I
That's
said,
a problem.
I did report it though, but not to my local PD, but I did report it.
Yeah, my point is you
Here's
should have
the
done
thing,
it.
though,
It's a learning thing. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry.
Sure.
It's hard to find like a place to like talk. Here's the thing, though. It's a fair chance that he's not even in Kansas.
Oh yeah, that's a new thing.
And none of the ages matched up with what. Yeah, so that's why we all thought that going to the national would be a lot better, because we don't even know if he even lives there or not. He could have just lied.
Yeah, because at the time he was getting married. He was getting married to what would be his probably his rapist, but he alleged to be his rapist. He was getting married at the time, and from what Pika tells me recently, he actually went to the UK with his fiance for whatever reason. Yeah, I'm still keeping some slight track of him right now, which is why in this next incoming video, I'm going to be making another updated report and record that just to show people how to make a report to the FBI anonymous hotline.
Okay, so the FBI anonymous hotline can be okay, but I still recommend that you also tell them to report it to their local PD if they have everything they need, because that puts a little bit more emphasis behind it. Mm-hmm. Because they'll be able to look into it. And the FBI is inundated with reports pretty regularly. So let's go ahead and move on from that. Real quick question. I see you guys are hanging around Moomin a lot. How long have you known him?
Not long. Couple months, really. He's a chill guy. He's just,
Okay.
We don't talk that much, but we still, like, interact.
Okay. You probably shouldn't have had him in a call talking about some of the predator-related stuff. So just keep that in mind to mind who you have around, because Moomin's what, 15?
Which call?
If I'm not mistaken, didn't you have a call with somebody about some of Harley's stuff that Moomin was involved in?
Yeah, Moomin wanted to know more about the grooming stuff. So I guess
you should not have had Moomin involved in that.
He just at that time everything was done and over with. At this point,
it doesn't really matter. But Moomin's still a child. Moomin does. If you take issue with Harley looking into grooming things, Moomin certainly.
I take issue with Harley talking to pedophiles and groomers. If he wants to talk about anything he wants. I mean, we live in America. That's the First Amendment. He can talk about it any way, which way he wants. The issue is that Harley was talking with pedophiles and groomers.
I think that's where our values differ, because I don't think they should talk about them or with them.
You can talk about them. It's not like he was saying yay groomer. He was saying he's saying bad groomer.
I'm just telling you what my value is. I think there are some topics children shouldn't be exposed to.
Look, I'll take the blame for that, because I'm the one that went to Moomin's comments to ask me if I wanted to know. That I will take the blame for that, because we found him. I'm the one that didn't. So if anybody's to blame, I'll take it.
Okay. Well, just having a conversation here. Just telling you what my values are. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just
but
to keep in mind.
But as for like the Moomin thing in general, we didn't. Yeah, but it's fine. It's fine because I did. Like I said, I was there and I also parsed through the information as well. But it's for cases like Moomin, the main issue that we were going through, like the main things that we were covering was his issue with Vincent, which was the main contention because everyone had an issue with Moomin's thumbnails.
They were pretty goofy thumbnails. Not gonna argue that one.
Pretty based. I like them.
Well, about the thumbnail with Zizzy, the problem you're going to have there is Moomin's going to say they should watch the video, and one could make that argument at the same time. How do you get people to watch your video? Your thumbnail. And if your thumbnail is communicating something the video has nothing to do with, that's going to be kind of foolish.
It happens all the time. So that's basically Harley does shit like that all the time too. If you looked at his thumbnails,
whether it happens all the time or not doesn't change the fact that you shouldn't do it, right?
I mean, the ZZ thing. I don't even think it was really
It may not be malicious. I'm not saying
yeah, it's like that's what I mean. Like to this point, the only thing that I've seen like people complain about is just like transphobia. Of course, it's jokes, but that's their main contention on this, which is
here's the thing, like, and here's another thing I need to get into. You guys seem to be okay with being edgy or whatever you want to call it, but if you're trying to get out an actual topic, a discussion you think people need to hear, you need to make it to where people are going to focus on what you're actually talking about. And being super edgy, they're going to shut you out. It's how the majority of people tend to operate now. So it's something you might want to alter if you want to talk about heavier topics or things you really think you need to be heard about, because they're going to hear a gamer word and immediately check out, or to focus on that, which is one reason why I said the Mrs. Easy thumbnail is a bad idea, because what did they focus on about the video? Did they focus on whatever Moomin was talking about? No, they focused on, why is Mrs. Easy here? Why is she in the thumbnail? Mrs. Easy isn't trans. It takes the issue away from what you're discussing.
Well, that's the thing. They saw the thumbnail and immediately went there, and then they click on the video just to go to the comments to make a comment. You might as well watch the video. But it's really, like I say, even he says it himself. But like, I'm not Moomin. I can't really speak for him, and I don't really tell Moomin what to do or what he puts his thumbnails in and whatnot. Like, I talk to Moomin. I don't tell Moomin what to do.
All right. So, my value when it comes to people like Moomin, and I mean like children, you're going to want to try to guide them. Not tell them what to do, but just be like, hey, maybe do X, Y, Z. Be a proper role model, for lack of a better word, if that's your intention.
Yeah, he has a dad. Like he has a dad. He can.
No question. You can't take that place.
He has a dad. He can get that kind of stuff from his dad. I'm just, like I said, I'm just a guy on the internet. I'm not here to tell like a teenager what to do with his thumbnails or what to do with his videos. I only have 200 something subs. Like I don't even.
You're also in your 30s, and conducting yourself properly around these people is a wise idea.
It's just a teenager. It's just it's not.
I'm
it's
just
not
telling
like
you what my value is, man. Just telling you what my value is.
I know. It's just like I said. I think you're just kind of you're being a little too serious about it. Yeah, you're being a little too serious about it. They're kids. You should treat them like kids. Yeah, but like it's not like a huge deal. Yeah.
It may not be to you, but again, I'm just telling you my personal values. Not attacking you, not doing none of that. Now, moving on to the last thing I want to talk about today, specifically. You guys take issue with false allegations, yes?
Yes.
You two as well, Foxton, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And why make them towards me?
What are you referring to?
Hold on.
I mean, you can just tell me. I would probably believe you. If I did it, I'm going to tell you I did it.
Okay, let me go ahead. Where'd I put it? Right here.
Let's see. What are you talking about? The Leo the Goomer Boomer thing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I got that from the Boomer Groomer thing. Yeah, okay. So yeah, that's my thing. Well, while I have you here, I do have questions about that. Why are you? Why did you?
Why do you basically have a harem?
I don't.
Of girls with daddy issues.
I don't.
Pages. Who? That Minty person? Who else?
That's not the way. That's not the way that would do it. Let me.
Okay, you can take care of that.
Let's just go with this. I think the most glaring issue where this comes from was, I think the one where the 13-year-old that Vita was trying to get at, and then you kind of continue Vita's same plan with like bring her to like live with you type deal. Of course, you probably have different intentions than Vita did, but it's kind of.
Hold on. How much have you actually looked into of this?
From what I saw briefly your video about it, where you brought her on to kind of explain it away, which a lot of people a lot of people, like myself, kind of found out weird too, involving her. Video? I believe was it a stream or a video? Let me see. Give me one moment to find it. Because I believe it was given to me somewhere. I don't know if it was on Twitter or the forums or somewhere. I did also read that thread that you were fighting with that guy, which
that was funny.
Yeah, I do gotta ask, why are you beefing with other toy collectors over toys so hard?
You want to get into that? We can.
Sure. Let's. That's the main deal. I think this is where it all kind of stems from. Well, from Junkman.
On it.
Yeah.
Actually, it doesn't stem from Junkman. It stems from a guy named Adam Galvin.
Yeah.
And I've talked about that on the farm, so you should know what the answer for that is.
Yeah, briefly, but I like to hear from you. To hear from you gives sincerity.
Sure. Adam Galvin was being stupid on Twitter. I made fun of him, and he lost his darn mind. Or so did Michael French at Retro Blasting. He made fun of him too. And Adam's response to being made fun of on Twitter was to freak out and try his best to find dirt on me and then schizo post about me, apparently on 4chan, for years.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, and when Junkman decided to get stupid, Adam wound up in his DMs by his own admission and started feeding him a bunch of nonsense that is not related to reality in any way, shape, or form. And Junkman ran with it because Junkman's stupid. Because Junkman is mad. Michael French and other toy collectors don't see a major issue with reproduction action figure parts. Now, that sounds really stupid, doesn't it?
I don't mean to laugh, but it's just
no, you should laugh.
It's toys.
It is boneheaded stupid.
It's fucking toys.
You're right. But here's the thing: you're not really into Star Wars, are you?
I mean, a bit. I'm not super crazy about it, but like I know my stuff.
You're not into Star Wars, are you?
Well, I'm not into the toys, but I am into a bit of the lore. Yes.
You like the lore, right?
Yeah.
That's fine. When I say these people are into Star Wars, I mean they're into Star Wars.
Yes.
To them, they believe that Star Wars action figures, specifically the Kenner line from the 70s through the 80s, is like some golden god that cannot be replicated, defied, or destroyed. So they see anybody replicating an action figure part to fill in a collection, to sell to somebody else, as some sort of defilement of their deity. And they have had actual rituals to remove them from people's collections. You have not seen crazy until you've seen middle-aged man collecting toys and mad about reproduction parts crazy.
I mean, I've been watching it because that was gonna be a part because I mean I follow toy collectors and I also follow craftsmen. I'm a bit of a craftsman myself. I'm not very good at making toys yet, but I do make them. Can I just say it's just remarkable? That whole entire thing is good to actually get this point of it. But did you accuse Junkman of being a pedophile because he was catfishing another pedophile for Star Wars figurines?
No. In fact, I've told people that have come to me saying that they're wrong.
Oh,
now,
no.
what Junkman did was still stupid in the sense of pretending to be a little girl that sells harms and conspiring with another teenager and make their fights look, accurate. But the thing about Junkman's claims, specifically towards what's his face,
Retroblast.
Well, I mean, there's the Retroblast, but I'm talking about like that specific thing, the Kenner Babe saga, right?
Mm-hmm.
Towards the Toy Hunter. There's another guy that's like a radio show host. There's like something genuinely wrong with that dude. He's never sustained any of it. He didn't keep any logs. He didn't keep any data. He was literally just there to scam the dude out of a MacBook, some cash, and some action figures. And when he was done doing that, when he was busted, he has not forwarded it to the police. He hasn't warned anybody about the guy's actual actions. And when somebody confronted him about it, he flat out said, I don't care about the safety of kids. I don't care about kids. I don't care about what these men do. I just saw a chance to scam these people and went for it.
Yeah, that's pretty shitty. If that's the case, then that's pretty shitty.
If I thought Junkman was a pedophile, don't you think I would have put it on my Dog Hunt platform?
Well, I mean, you were hounding him a lot, so I was gonna look into it a little bit more. But
I did one live stream about him.
Oh, the live stream and then a video about it. You did a collab with what's her face, Queen. I think it was like
Queen Serafina.
Yeah.
Sarah did that of her own volition. That wasn't even a collaboration with me.
It wasn't?
No.
Were you not in the
Do you
video?
hear? No. The only thing I did for that, if you want to consider it a collaboration, is I read one line.
Okay.
Is that what you consider a collaboration?
Yeah, if you're in the video, kind of, yeah. It's not
Well,
it's not a huge portion of the collaboration, but it's
No.
yeah, but it's I will give you that. It's not a huge portion, so I wouldn't put
No,
I wouldn't put that in your
video,
feed.
That video doesn't call him a pedophile either.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not a Junkman defender. I just think that whole entire situation is funny. Now the reason why
It's definitely unhinged.
yeah, now the reason why I said that, not just because of that little story that kind of gives me like that gives me kind of presumption. Of course, I could be proven wrong. In which case, if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, and I will apologize. But also because you also accused me of being a groomer defender, while also Harley claimed that I defended CP. So I mean, we're
When
throwing.
did Harley say that you defend what?
Yeah, let me get you that.
Yeah, he did that with me, Grim, basically. Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
if you're talking about stalking, Harley blocks us and then keeps track of us, and then like that time where that argument happened, I posted a picture of Diva's booty cheeks because Overwatch 2 came out, right? Foxton
I
commented,
made a joke based off of that inside joke.
and then he jumps in, unblocks Foxton, starts talking to her, then unblocks me, and then we have a big fight about the fucking Mude bot, and then he calls me a child porn defender because he and Sen are getting into it. So it's just
We'll come back to that in a minute, but real quick on the Mude bot. My value on that, as having not even heard about the doggone thing until recently, I don't think it should have been in the server to begin with, but I understand Harley was also like young when that happened, but it should have been yeeted earlier. That's my value.
I told him all he
17
needed
to 18, he kept that in there, and I showed him that it is exposing. I showed them that it was exposing kids to porn leaks and still showing sexually suggestive imagery to people. It's not just them being immature. They actively removed the sexual context, saying, "Oh, that's just a girl with a lollipop in her mouth. Her tits are hanging out. Her tits are literally hanging out." And that's what pissed me off, and that's what made me not be nice to him anymore. Yeah, no, I recommend it. And look, I am gonna kind of have to go soon.
Yeah,
But I have some questions of my own.
Go for it.
Who's spreading the false narrative that I lost my job over obsessing over Harley?
As I told Grimskull, and I'm sure he shared you the DMs, right, that I had with him on Twitter?
I don't remember seeing anything about the whole I lost my job over this shit.
Well, we talked about it.
Yeah, we did talk about it. I don't share too much details of DMs too often.
Okay, I just assumed, because I'll stand by what I say.
Yeah, it's.
I can't remember who specifically told me that rumor, because a lot of people have been talking about a lot of stuff. But you losing your job over YouTube drama specifically, that's something you told Peaches.
I didn't actually. I didn't lose my job over the YouTube drama. I explained to her that I took one day off because I was new to the hate, and I had to take a day off because I was new to the hate and I couldn't mentally handle it. And I even explained to Peaches that I quit my job because my boss was disrespecting me. I never said I lost my job over the YouTube drama. And I have an idea about who's spreading that, because it involves a third party, and I'm in contact with that third party, and it only comes from a person I know misconstruing that third party's words about it. And I want to have confirmation about who started it.
And lo and behold, that third party also has some connections to Harley, so coincidences are piling up.
Yeah.
By the way, I just posted that screenshot of Harley calling me a child porn defender.
Okay, thank you. Let me take a look at it.
That was under my account, Grimskull. That he I don't know if he ordered this stalker of mine to flag down, but it got flagged down and I lost that.
I'll see if I can find it and find out stuff like that.
Yeah, I can.
That's just a lot to throw at, right? So.
Yeah, I can find you the link to that arguments, because the arguments are still up. But,
okay, because I know sometimes people delete things, or if your account got banned or whatever.
Yeah, you'll probably see me account suspended, but you'll.
Well, it says here, did you refuse to go to work to fight Harley?
One day, and I already explained that. That's not me losing my job over it.
Okay, well, I appreciate the clarification.
Thank you, and I am sorry if I'm very aggressive, because if I'm correct about who is spreading this false allegation against me, I have history with the guy. He scares the fuck out of me and also pisses me off. He's basically a guy that's mad that I didn't fuck him.
Fantastic.
And I do have proof of that. He makes me very angry because he tried to falsely accuse the person I was with of grooming me.
Yay.
Yep. So
I genuinely don't know anything.
A lot of bad blood. So I don't know. Yeah. A lot of bad blood.
Well, this is turning into a Hydra here. So let's go ahead and get back on point. If that's okay.
Let's possible. Let's go with your story.
Okay.
Yeah.
So since Foxton's here, Foxton, what harem do I have exactly?
Grimard explained it. I thought Grimard explained it, so that's where I got it from. So I'll also retract it if I publicly said anything about that.
Here's my question: like, who's telling you that I have a harem? Because it's not just like the thread on Kiwi Farms. Because let's be honest,
it was a thread on Kiwi Farms because I showed her the thread on Kiwi Farms. Yeah, it's the thread on Kiwi Farms.
Claiming. So you claim that I've done the? Did you even look into it?
A bit, yeah. That's why we were going into it. I was in the process of making a vid about this, especially particularly the retroblast thing, because that's. I mean, I'm sorry. It's funny. The retroblast situation is on the outside looking in. It's
on the
funny.
outside, if you're not a toy collector and you see people really, really heated over toys, it's gonna look goofy. I get that.
Yeah, it's funny, but
I get it.
But I get that. But that's where it initially comes from. That weird scenario that you're experiencing.
I do have a point of contention. I would never dox anybody over Legos.
Okay.
I doxed them over Mega Blocks.
But no, like, I'm sorry if that comment was inappropriate. How dare you, you monster! But no, I'm sorry if that comment was inappropriate. It's a common joke based on that situation. And I apologize.
All these are genuinely inappropriate, and I do accept your apology. But I'll go ahead and give you a rundown here. Okay, so I don't have a harem. I have a wife that I've been married to for, in a few weeks, 5 years.
Nice.
She's the only person I do anything sexual with. The other people you're referring to are members of Found Family. Take them in because their families kind of suck, and I'm there for them. Jordan, who was previously known as Emily, a.k.a. Mintheart, that was one of Vita's grooming victims.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when the GoFundMe happened for Jordan, because Jordan was trying to get away because of what his mother allowed to happen in their home, which you can have whatever values you want in general, but if your mother allows somebody who has put hands on you, knowing that they've done it, to stay in that house, that's a problem.
Yep.
And when the mother also, because you can go back and you can listen to the live streams, like when we covered some of this stuff when it first happened. The mom wanted to keep quiet about it for 2 weeks for some reason. 2 weeks or so the dude could leave the country because he wasn't here legally. She didn't want his life to be ruined because he touched her daughter.
I thought you said Vita was the one that was illegal. Are they both illegal?
No. Vita is... Here's the thing. Jordan was physically touched by her mom's ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, her stepdad or whatever.
Vita was somebody that Jordan has known since they were 13 that was grooming them online.
Mm-hmm.
2 different people. So, the GoFundMe was made to try to raise funds to get Jordan out of there, to legally emancipate themselves and go about their business. The courts turned down the legal emancipation because Jordan was not attending school the way they should have, the way we told them to. So what happened was after Jordan turned 18, right before then, almost 3 years to the date, Vita was finally exposed for the nonsense he had done. Because he had, at one point, groomed, at that time, we knew one person, and that's who came forward to us after we had a major shakeup because Vita did something stupid with the zoophile police, and you can go watch Sarah's video on that if you really want all the details on that. And that came forward. We ruined Vita's life by exposing him and reporting him to the law enforcement, which still have not done anything with him, and we just reported a 4th victim to them that we just found out about. Very frustrating.
Are the victims doing the reporting?
We're trying to get them to.
Yeah, they need to. That's
3
the
of
issue.
them have. Yeah, I know. 3 of them have, but they said that it's not recent enough for them.
It's weird.
It is, considering the fact that Jordan specifically handed all of their Discord and Skype logs to the Portland police, which is where Jordan was at the time.
Oh, but that's why it's fucking Portland. Of course. That's why.
They put a 16-page docket together to send to the North Carolina police. Because so Portland knew that this was legitimate enough to send it a 16-page doc to the North Carolina police, only for them to go, we've waited around for this for too long, and he's probably wiped his phone by now, so we're not going to pursue this until somebody else happens.
Shit gets ugly. Shit gets ugly all the time, which is why I don't do it.
I hate it.
Yeah, I know.
I hate it. Dude, look, I've been doing this for 5 years because I'm trying to get people help. But I'll flat out tell people, unless you can really handle a lot of disappointment, a lot of heartache, don't get into this.
Yeah,
you gotta also keep your ethics clear, otherwise you're gonna wind up like Coyote, that moron. That's their problem. But the thing is, like with all these people, the key is to report it, obviously. But when it comes to I found family, there's nothing sexual there. There's never going to be, because I care for them as family. People like to make comments about incest and harems and all that because they're mad at me for completely unrelated things.
Well, you gotta admit it's weird too, though. You gotta admit that. Like outside looking in, it's weird. You gotta admit that's why like this whole situation right there. Like if you didn't do it, I'm sorry. In fact, in my heart of hearts, I don't really think that you're a groomer. But it's just it is weird looking in. It makes someone like have a little question mark into like what's going on with that, especially when a pedophile was previously involved with that girl too.
Yeah, the pedophile was involved with the girl in the sense of like they were grooming them when they were 13. But
with the GoFundMe too.
I didn't meet Jordan when Jordan was 13. First and foremost, and bringing Jordan into my family didn't even happen. I've never had a single person. One person gives the age wrong in Sarah's video, but nobody in my found family was a child when they were brought into it.
Okay. All right.
There's a reason why I'm very clear on my ethics in dealing with kids. That's why when kids show up and ask me questions of what do I do about this relationship, or they'll talk to me about will I find love, stuff like that, my answer is very simple: go talk to your parents. We ain't doing that. We ain't talking about that. That's not proper.
Good.
I'm a prude. That's how I roll. If you can't tell by our conversation here, I'm a prude. So, the found family can be weird. I'm not going to deny that, especially from the outside looking in. But that's why you ask questions. You don't just make assumptions.
Well, I mean, people ask questions and you got kind of mad.
Well, asking a question is not the same as making an accusation.
True. About us. I mean, yeah.
I hate the whole like you did this, you did that, but the Senate did it to us as well. So
okay, hold on. Let's
why did no one ask me about losing my job, and then why did teachers like such that? Yeah.
Okay, let's get into that real quick. What do you guys think the Senate is?
It's just a Discord with a bunch of YouTubers collabing with each other, really. And some of them are clicked up. I can see that. Which I know you're not a monolith. I know that much. I mean, that's...
Well, congratulations. You're one of the few who doesn't think I'm the monolith. So I appreciate that. But it is just a Discord server. So, number one, like I said earlier in our conversation, I didn't even know Vincent was in the server until you mentioned it in the call.
Yeah, he's...
So, if you're assuming that these people are some sort of Senate thing, 90% of the time if you look in Senate, they're not even talking about stuff like that. It's not some massive collab server. While it does happen occasionally, like it's just a Discord server where people can come in and say what they want in terms of their opinion. Now you might get clowned on for it. Yeah. Well, you might get clowned on for it.
Yeah, well that was my thing with Vincent, which is why he asked me like what does the Senate have to do with this? He's getting his confidence from it, which is that'd
be a weird thing. He said I checked his log actually. He said like 2 things in Senate. So how's he getting his confidence from us?
I have no idea. He's been so weird, especially after his he got those responses to his Harley video. Like before he was like he thought Movement was super based. He thought Movement was his content was great. This was even with the thumbnails in place. He knew about the thumbnails in general. But he jumped in and after that, those responses from his Harley video, he suddenly thinks that Movement is like a piece of shit. Movement shouldn't have come back. Movement went on hiatus and he was hoping he wouldn't return. Movement's a piece of shit because he makes transphobic jokes. Movement's a piece of shit because he supposedly did a 4chan raid on Harley TBS's server, which is provably wrong. Movement didn't let me put, well, not Movement, he didn't let me put the video out. He wanted to add a portion to it because he wants to have his final say, which I let him. But I have distinctive proof that that raid didn't happen. In fact, the proof is very evident in his very first video on the matter, on the screenshots, which is, I tried to tell him that he's dumb. If you look at the screenshot that he was putting out, that Harley gave him, the dates are wrong.
So that's not related to the raid that was happening then?
No. In fact, they're a month behind. The one that Harley gave him, this evidence that the raid happened, it's a month behind. And throughout the whole entire segment, he keeps the fucking dates of the DMs and messages ambiguous. You don't see the dates of when they happen. Either says today or not at all. It just says like a time. So I had a guy go and check Harley's server to see when the raid happened. And they're talking about a raid a day prior to Movement even talking about it. So they got the dates wrong. They're accusing Movement of essentially time travel.
I don't know. Maybe he does.
Yeah, maybe he does. He's a troll god. Oh my god.
That's something I'll look into too. It's going to take me time because
it's a lot.
I have been absurdly busy with a billion freaking things.
Do you know how long it took me to put all these grooming stuff out? Months. It took me months. Like I said, that's why I was being careful looking through this to making sure that everything I was saying was at least right according to what they told me and according to what the evidence told me, because they both lied to me the whole time. Josh lied to me, Harley lied to me often. I had to double check both of them all the time, which is why everything went out the way it did. So it's just, like I said, I was told things, I had to double check it, and then I went by what the evidence said. And what the main evidence says, what the ending of the DMs of what it said right there, I mean, I can't in good conscience say that's like grooming. Like what happens if this happens to another fucking like 16-year-old that isn't Harley and isn't Josh? Are we gonna call that fucker, it ruined that fucker's life because of something he did when he was 16? I don't know. I don't feel like that's justified.
Well, something to look into a little bit more when I have time. So my question is, why did Josh... real quick, we'll go back to Foxton's question, because Foxton was trying to address something before their headphone died.
All right.
When Harley put out their video talking about being groomed, did they mention Josh by name?
Josh by name? Nope. I will admit that. Nope. He did not. He did not mention him by name. He didn't try to ruin his life. That was one of the main issues that came about it later on. Because what I found out in their DMs that they were having secretly, where Harley got that like half-hearted confession of grooming, said that he accidentally groomed him, that DM, which I have also on my playlist, it shows that Josh was mentioning that he was dating someone that was underage. Harley still wanted to keep his identity a secret that whole time. Then when in our DMs again later on, because my DMs with him came later on after that, he also got on me because I was using Josh's real name. And I told him the same thing. If he's guilty, I will use his real name because he's guilty, and I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit at that point about his privacy. I put everything out in the open. I was operating on the fact that he could be guilty, he could not be guilty. Let's find out if he's guilty or not.
All right. I just wanted to confirm on that because it's just kind of odd, I think, that a video's put out, no names are mentioned, and then like Josh immediately goes on the attack. It's just very odd to me.
Josh went on the attack? Are you talking about the first DM one?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah, we were at each other's throats. Yeah, at the very get go, we were at each other's throats. Which, you know, I'm not going to excuse everything I said, but like I said, it was we were fighting.
So, anybody else? Okay. Well, right now I'm just listening to what you guys had to say.
Mm-hmm.
You would see me be angry because I had a bad childhood trauma, and well, I'm sorry to hear that happen first and foremost. Like, whatever beef we may have, that's not okay. Maybe so. Doesn't change the fact that it's not okay. All right, so when it comes to people you think are in Senate or know are in Senate or whatever that you feel are making a false accusation, again, and I'm going to make this clear, I don't think people really pay attention to how things operate there. They primarily go by hearsay, or they look at some of the calls where we're like destroying somebody for being god awful. If you have an issue with somebody in Senate, you can just come in and tell them you want to talk. Well, and what happens is you get thrown into a call. It's called the gallery. In the gallery, the only people who can talk are the people that have been selected to talk and moderators. The random people who sit in and listen to the call, they are not permitted to open their mouths and say anything because they're all server muted. So if there's somebody from Senate that you feel has made a false accusation, a truly false accusation towards you, you're welcome to let me know. We can set something up for you. It's not going to be where you get dogpiled. Pointless to do that.
Well, that was the impression that we were getting when we were on that Twitter bout that we were having. That was the impression.
Because it's Twitter beef. It's Twitter beef. You're going to get that impression.
Well, not only that, but they were also just like, it wasn't just Heaton. It was Peaches. It was Harley trying to drag them into that one particular area. It's suspicious, on the very face of it. That's why I posted everything out in the open. Like, all right, if you guys want beef now, then let's do it open then.
Well, the thing is, here's my value when it comes to getting into a specific call like that. First of all, you can have open communication about that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just ask for a group chat with a bunch of people or whatever, or all the parties involved, that probably would have helped as well. But it's just how we tend to handle things. We get people in call and we let them fight it out, because it seems to me that specifically in commentary, that's not done enough.
We call that blood sports.
Not exactly, because blood sports tends to have a tinge of troll shielding to some of it. Not all of it, but some of it. Tonka Saw is a really good example of that, let's be honest here.
I miss Tonka.
Tonka Saw wanted to have an actual fist fight with somebody and then pushed out at the very last minute. Like they got the whole thing set up too, and then the dude didn't show.
I know.
So, also, blood sports doesn't tend to be about like actual issues. It's just seeing who's the largest voice in the call.
Yeah, they yell. They do talk about issues too, like the one with Ian Miles when he swatted that dog. But other than that,
that one I haven't seen. But a good example of a fun debate that I watched was the one-time Medicare debated Destiny. That was funny.
Yeah, that was funny. I like Medicare too.
Why do you have locks on your doors, Destiny?
Oh God.
So if we don't have anything else to go ahead.
Sorry, if you are going to talk to Heaton about this, and I think Grim might agree with me here, I want you to bring up Heaton's friend that was sexually harassing me and Grim on Twitter.
Oh yeah, that fucking...
And spreading the false narrative that I wanted to sue Heaton.
That fucking weirdo, yeah.
And I'll find what I can and send links in this group chat. It may be a little later, but I will do it. But it made me very uncomfortable. If it happened only once, I would not fucking care, but the fact it was most of our conversations, and them trying to excuse it because, oh, I'm Ace, I fucking hate that. And it makes me very uncomfortable because, yeah.
You say Heaton's friend, when you get the chance, Can you give me a name? Because that'll help.
He's the guy that was reading with you. He's like the really, really flamboyant one, that guy.
I think his name is Ari. He used to go by Hidden Bonsai on Twitter, but I think it's something different now.
That gives me something to work with. Thank you. Because just like Heaton's friend who's flamboyant, I'm like, can you narrow it a little?
A little bit more? Really? Is it? That makes sense.
Again, I'll send links here when I can. It may be a little later, but I will get to it. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, here's to prove that whole entire thing stemmed from that argument. Here's I have a bit of the argument from when it first started.
I do have a link of them just talking about how I just
you're breaking up really bad, Fox.
Away from me, please stop.
Fox,
I'll type it then.
Okay.
Please do.
But it's yeah, that guy's a fucking weirdo. I don't. It's not just him too. It was Harley getting into it when I first posted those DMs. For some reason, he was talking about me being on his dick a lot. Like I don't know why. It's the first time he's actually been that kind of like weirdly sexually aggressive in his conversations with me. It was very weird.
Okay. I'll look into that and see what I can do. All right.
Like I said, I appreciate it. I appreciate this talk too. I mean, it's good to actually talk about it because it's just
again, my DMs are open, dude. Like,
yeah,
they have been the whole time.
Because between like I even tried helping Heaton because she was making she made an entire hour of her video about transphobia, and then she made the whole entire thing about Foxton. I'm sorry, Foxton stole my glory. I'm the one that did all this. They should have just blamed me for it. I tried telling them because Harley knows my name. Obviously, Harley knows who I am. He brought me into the chat.
Speaking of stolen glory, Senate wasn't the video maker. Heaton was.
I understand. It's just the whole entire thing started with like I said, this coming to the Senate. I discovered even the Senate's existence because of this. I didn't even know that there was this a big thing of fucking like creators in a fucking server either shit talking each other or collabing with each other about a video to fucking destroy someone. I guess I don't know, but it's.
Well, this wasn't my point is, like, this wasn't a collaborative, like, Senate operation or anything like that, because, number one, we don't tend to do that. And, number two, this is Heaton's video. It's on Heaton's channel. It's Heaton. Heaton put all the work into that one, so that's not a Senate project. I want to make sure that's clear.
Yeah, granted, you're not, like I said, it's not a monolith. It's just... It kind of looks that way when like I'm beefing with fucking like 4 people that are in the Senate, particularly on the same subject matter, and
onto that real quick. How is that other guy Senate adjacent exactly?
Which one?
The one that you just put a video out on.
Oh, Cobalt. Yeah, I even mentioned right there. They're not really a member. They're not really a member of the Senate. They're involved with Vincent. Which is why.
Yeah, it's still kind of goofy that you named it after Senate. You're like, oh, actually, this guy's not involved.
Oh, because they called it Section Senate?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, like I said, we didn't have this talk yet.
Oh, I just think it's funny looking at it. Section Senate. This guy's not affiliated. Oh, come on, man.
It's an introduction. You gotta do epilogues to this shit sometimes. You know.
Have done an introduction. Lion mask toy collector. Come on, man.
Well, that comes later. Lio. Yeah. Because we talk about the toy collections later.
I'll have you know, I have at least 7 Skeletor action figures, and I demand they be included in the video.
I got at least 2.
Good. Everybody needs a Skeletor.
I'm poor.
Okay, so that's kind of all I've got for now. I'll try to reconnect with you guys whenever we're all free. It's going to be a bit for me. I am genuinely swamped right now, and I actually have to hop off so I can talk to somebody else before I head to the vet today. So, appreciate you guys' time, and we'll try to remain cordial as we continue to force through all this, okay?
Perfect. All right.
Later.
Later.